Hello, it is Sarah Waggle, astrologer and leadership coach here. This is a special video to wrap up 2023 and preview 2024. We're going to go over some dates from 2023 that might have been significant and go over some potentially significant dates in 2024. I'll also talk about some of what I'm feeling for 2024 energetically and whatnot. And so how was 2023? How is this year? Mine's been crazy. As you can see, I'm recording this while I'm still house sitting in Denver. And so by the time this airs, I will not be in Denver. But I also just really love this workspace and I wanted to take advantage and use it and get some videos done ahead of time, just in case I run into a snag where I don't have internet in my next place for a while. And so I'm doing all this. Anyway, so I'm actually filming this on Thanksgiving Day. But I did take yesterday off and enjoy the weather, but now the weather has gotten cold in Denver, so I figured I would take advantage of the time. Anywho, okay, so I feel like 2023 started out very slowly. We had a Mars retrograde, we had Uranus still retrograde, we didn't have a lot of movement until March when Saturn went into Pisces and I believe Mars left shadow and then Pluto went into Aquarius. And so really think back to, things that might have changed or shifted around March, what feelings came up and all of that. And then of course we had that stretch between July and September where things got interesting, specifically related to, and I'll go over this in the presentation in a second too, but particularly related to July 17th through the 23rd. And then of course, July 23rd through September 3rd, when we had that Venus retrograde in Leo. And so if you have fixed placements, meaning Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, if you have those placements, think about what changed for you, not only during the Venus retrograde, July 23rd through September 3rd, but also what shifted for you from January 2022 to July 17 of 2023, because that's when those nodes made their move. And of course, now we have those nodes in North Node Aries, South Node Libra, and we're starting to see a lot of relationship things and partnership things and allies or alliances changing and whatnot. And we're starting to feel some amped up energy with these nodes, and the nodes being in North Node Aries, South Node Libra is going to continue until January of 2025. And so 2024 might feel a little mixed up. We start off the year with really great, I think, really great energy for focusing on self-empowerment, focusing on your own, kind of staying in your lane type of goals. And that's sort of how we're ending 2023 too, is staying in your lane, focusing on your own stuff, and really like gearing into this year. We have these personal planets, meaning Mercury, Mars, Venus, that are kind of traveling together for a good first half of this year of 2024, meaning so that, we have this opportunity to really see ourself for ourselves and to see our role in society, in our communities and whatnot. So let's take a look at the keynote and talk about some stuff that dates that happened and whatnot. Okay. There we go. All right. And I do have kind of a surprise at the end. So if you want to watch this whole thing all the way through or skip to the end to see the surprise, I like surprises. I like the build up too. But anyway. All right. So we had eclipses. Now we have eclipses every year. They happen about every 6 months, and they are new and or full moons based on where the lunar nodes are. That's why those nodal placements are so important. So of course we had the solar eclipse in Aries on April 19th. And, you want to think back, like what happened for you, what came up for you around these dates? Did something significant happen for you around these dates? May 2nd was the lunar eclipse in Scorpio. And then on October 14th, of course, we had that solar eclipse in Libra. And then October 28th was the lunar eclipse in Taurus. So you can see that we kind of went back and forth between Aries or between cardinal signs, meaning Aries and Libra are cardinal signs, and fixed signs, Scorpio and Taurus. And so depending on where these landed on your chart, your natal chart, things might have been more heavy, more significant, more palatable. Specifically, if you have, like I said, if you have placements in Scorpio and Taurus or in Aries and Libra, you may be feeling these eclipses more. And so, like I said, with the nodes staying in Aries Libra for 2024, we will have more eclipses around that axis. Okay, so what did the outer planets do? Now, Saturn and Jupiter are technically not outer planets, but that's okay. I put them on this slide anyway. The inner planets change signs more frequently, so I did not cover them. But Saturn, March, where am I? Okay, making sure I'm in the right place. Saturn went into Pisces on March 7th. So again, you want to look at what changed for you around March 7th. And then, of course, what happened for you during the retrograde, June 7th through the November 4th, rather, because this is how we can identify patterns of how planets affect us, is by looking at the dates and what changed, what was significant, what showed up. And some of these like Saturn and some of these outer planets, it may not have been as obvious or evident because it may have been like an internal shift, but certainly around like March 7th, you might have noticed like your sense of responsibility shifted, your restriction, whatever restriction or limitation might have shifted. And then you might have felt that loosen up around November 4th and beyond. Okay, Jupiter went into Taurus on May 16th and retrograded from September 4th, and it will go direct on December 31st. And so definitely if you have a fixed sign placement again, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, you may notice things are different because Jupiter is in a fixed sign. And then we had Uranus stayed in, it entered the third decan. I'm like, what did I put that for? Okay, it entered the third decan, or 20 to 29 degrees of Taurus. Neptune is in the latter degrees of the third decan of Pisces. And then Pluto. Pluto was significant this last year. It entered Aquarius on March 23rd. So whatever may have come up between March 23rd and June 20th, June 20th. I put January, I meant June. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, I see what I did now. Lord help me. Okay. Between March 23rd and I believe it was mid-June that it retrograded back into Capricorn and then went direct on October 10th. And so June 10th, that's when it was. Okay, I thought I had written that date down. Okay, this was not the best slide show for me because the lighter gray on the bottom and the white text is harder to see. But whatever, it looks cool, I think. Pretty simplified. Okay, so March 23rd through June 10th of 2023 was when Pluto was in Aquarius. And so between June 10 and January 20th of 2024, it will be in Capricorn. So you want to kind of think about the way you can feel out Pluto is what shifted, changed, what did you observe in the world between March 23rd, and June 10th of 2023. That's where you can get kind of an idea of Pluto and Aquarius. What did you see? What did you notice? So that's some of the outer planet movements. In 2024, especially into 2025, we will see more outer planet movement. And so that's why next year is so significant. Actually, that's why this whole damn decade is so significant, is because we have a lot of planets changing signs that don't often change signs, which would be these outer planets. So it's actually creating quite the transformation globally. Okay. Notable dates. All right. Let's see. Okay, May 15th. So think of these through. May 15th, October 28th, and December 31. This was when a transit occurred, different transits occurred at 5 degrees of Taurus. Okay, so Mercury went retrograde at 5 degrees Taurus. We had the Taurus lunar eclipse on the October 28th that was at 5 degrees Taurus, and Jupiter goes direct December 31st at 5 degrees Taurus. So whatever you happen to have at 5 degrees of Taurus, it's like Mercury came in and did its thing. The eclipse came in, did another thing, probably showed you something from that Mercury retrograde. And then Jupiter is going to come in and potentially reward you for doing work around that thing. Whatever you have at 5 degrees, you may have nothing at 5 degrees Taurus, but you may have something at 5 degrees of Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo, that could have been affected by the activity at 5 degrees of Taurus. Okay, July 17th through the 23rd, I mentioned this. This was when we had a new moon in Cancer. The lunar nodes shifted from Taurus, Scorpio to Aries, Libra. And then we had a couple of different cardinal grand crosses, as well as Venus going retrograde in Leo. So there was a lot around the 17th through the 23rd of July that also persisted until the 3rd of September. So just think about, or, if you've got your journal or your calendar, you can kind of, or even your social media, your photos, things like that, like what was coming up. What experiences did you have? Was it something to do with relationships? Did you notice red flags in relationships that maybe you ignored or didn't ignore and decided to not stay in the relationship? Relationships are going to be a big deal until January of 2025. So that, of course, included the retrograde Venus in Leo that we had. And so, these are just some ways that you can kind of look back through and see where the astrology showed up in your life. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the Saturn return because I talked about this in a previous video, but I don't know. I just like experimenting and playing with different things in astrology. So if you were born between January 28th, 1994 and April 7, 1996, or if you were born between March 24th, 1964 and March 3rd of 1967. Now, my dates may not be exact, but they're exact as far as I could see them. You may be experiencing your Saturn return. So Saturn returns happen every 28 to 30 years when Saturn comes back to the place where it was when you were born. Your first Saturn return is considered your coming of age or adulthood moment in astrology, astrologically speaking. And so when you turn 30, and you're like, I don't want to work in corporate. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And you decide to break away from a tradition, or you break away, you become the black sheep or the psychedelic sheep, however that lands for you. My Saturn return, I quit a full-time job that was like a really good paying job, but I was so miserable, I couldn't stand it. And so, 15 years later, I'm doing astrology and leadership coaching, supporting other people to potentially leave a good paying job to, just go be happy and joyful and all of those things. And so Saturn returns can bring upon quitting a job, getting out of a marriage, or, who knows what. The second Saturn return, so when you're about 57 to 60 and you have your second Saturn return, that's your karma return. Whatever you have put out there comes back. That's what Saturn is for. So if if you've done good, good things will come back. If you've done bad, bad things will come back. So that's how karma works. It's cause and effect. What you put out, comes back to you, right? So this is Saturn. This is how it works. And there is something about the third return, but I don't even have the dates for a third return, but obviously it would be in your late 80s, early 90s. And that is kind of the, you no longer give a fuck about the rules type of, if you didn't have that during your Uranus opposition at 44. um, but yeah, when you get into that late 80s, early 90s Saturn return, then you don't even acknowledge like restrictions or rules or authority or whatever. But you can not acknowledge authority at 30 during your first Saturn return. But usually it's the one at 60 that brings about the karmic return. So anyway, just thought I'd put that out there if anyone's experiencing their Saturn return in the next few years as Saturn transits its way through Pisces. Yeah, and Uranus opposition. This one's where I'm at right now. I'm in my Uranus opposition. Okay, November 14th, 1978 to December 13, 1979. If your Uranus is between 19 and 20 degrees of Scorpio, then you're getting a triple hit. That's why I put these specific degrees, because Uranus transited to 23, it retrograded back to 19, and then it's going to go forward again. And so even into next year, those of us who have Uranus in Scorpio around 19 to 23 degrees are going to get another hit of it. So this is when rebellion kicks in. Life feels upside down. Uranus is a disruptor, breaking free from limitations. Yeah, Uranus is rules Aquarius, or Aquarius rules Uranus. And so Aquarius is rebellious. Uranus is rebellious. But the other thing I want to point out about this particular group of folks is that because we have the support of Pluto dipping its toes in and out of Aquarius, and Uranus happens to rule Aquarius, we have the support of Pluto to really heal and break free from generational wounds or generational trauma or things like that. And I don't want to undermine this, because it could bring up a lot of wounds, especially with Chiron and Aries. But typically, if you were born with these dates, you probably have Chiron in Taurus, which means that you may have Chiron at 5 degrees of Taurus, which goes back to the previous slide where I talked about all the planets that hit 5 degrees of Taurus. But my point here is that we have this opportunity, those of us in our mid-40s, early to mid-40s, to really break some shit up, take a sledgehammer to society in our own communities, in our own small worlds, right? We don't have to do this on the global scale. We don't have to change the world, right? Most change starts within us. It starts with our individual changes in how we choose to heal. Maybe it's time to get some therapy. Maybe it's time to hire a coach. Maybe it's time to hire an astrologer coach. Pointing at myself. Somebody who has some tools to support you in maybe being a safe rebellion. By that I mean you do it in a controlled way, or you do it in a way that doesn't completely emotionally fly off the handle and wreck shit that doesn't need to be wrecked, but at the same time heal some deep familial wounds or whatever. I definitely feel like I have been doing this over the last 6 years, 7 years. I've been doing a lot of healing work, is really breaking free and taking a sledgehammer to a lot of old familial wounds. Okay, so let's jump into 2024. What do I want to say here? I had something I was going to say. Oh, there we go. I forgot that I had an animation there. So let's jump into 2024. So 2023 is ending kind of with a bang. Mercury is in retrograde. We have many planets that are going to be in Capricorn at the turn of the year. And so, there's a lot of like right off the bat, there's a lot of grind and get shit done type of energy. So let's take a look. Okay. I want to be careful about this. I wrote this in here. I'm going to read it and then I'm going to talk about it. Okay. There is definitely war energy in the air. With the South Node and Libra, alliances are changing and whatnot. Okay. When we focus on ourselves and our own inner war within, we radiate that into the world. So potential war energy, but feel within yourself and your own world. Okay. By this, I mean, the world you live in is a reflection of you. And I don't mean this to sound harsh or hateful. I mean this in a loving way. I mean this to say, like, if you are having a war within yourself, as in you have limitations, you have restrictions, you are in victim mode, all of these things, then you're experiencing a war within yourself. Or maybe you're like at war with the people in your family or your friend groups or whatever. And you feel constantly like you are on the defense or at battle. Okay. Also, this goes back to consumption too, right? Like, I'm well aware that there's war energy in the air, right? I know it just from watching what little news I watch, media I watch, and astrologically. And I also don't talk about a lot of geopolitical stuff on my astrology videos, mostly because I really want you to focus on yourself. And I'm very opinionated about what's going on in the world. And I don't want my opinions to obscure the energy or the astrology as it is. Okay. However, that's why I'm saying, like when I felt at war with myself, when I was deep in victim mode, when I was in, self-deprecation or even self-hate and had no self-compassion, like, right, the drama in my life was hella worse. And the wars or the fighting in my life was worse. I was also like, poor, not as well nourished, or didn't hydrate as much, or, I drink alcohol or whatever. Like, so when we wage a war on ourselves, right, that's what energy radiates from our being, from our body, right? We're energetic beings living in a meat suit, like my friend Abigail says. We're energetic beings living in a meat suit. And so if your attention is focused on external events, circumstances, incidents, etc., and I'm not saying don't be aware of what's going on. I'm saying if that's what your general focus is, then you radiate that, or that's what gets projected and reflected back at you. But if you're focused on yourself, finding your happiness, finding your joy, finding your, I've been talking about it for so many full and new moon videos lately, but it's the stuff that lights you up. It's the stuff that gets you out of bed in the morning. And we have this opportunity at the beginning of 2024 to really use Capricorn energy. And I love Capricorn energy because it actually gets me to get shit done. And I'm typically not like that disciplined, but when we focus on ourselves and we heal our wounds and we heal ourselves and we start to shift our relationships and we start to, outgrow relationships or outgrow, complaint and shift it into gratitude, or we shift from scarcity into abundance, what we radiate, the energy that we radiate shifts and changes, and we start to notice the external conflicts a lot less, because we're so focused on what we are up to to make the world better and to make ourselves better, that we, I don't want to say oblivious, because I'm not oblivious to it. I'm well aware of what the hell's going on out there, but I only am aware of it so that when I engage and interact with people out there, like when I travel, when I go to the store, whatever, and people are like edgy, feisty, like I don't have to think about, and I don't want, I mean, obviously it can be astrological, right? Like I sometimes look at people and be like, I must have a Scorpio moon. But also it helps to know what's going on so that when, you know, and we can't always know what's going on in everybody's worlds. We can't possibly know that. It's not our responsibility to know that. But if we know that there's a particular thing going on, and then we walk out into the world and everybody feels extra sensitive or extra feisty, you can be like, okay, well, this happened yesterday in the government or whatever. And now today people are losing their shit, or people are, you know, whatever. I hope I'm making sense. I hope I'm coming across clearly. But my point in saying all of this is that when you start working on yourself and focusing on yourself, you notice or observe external incidents far less. You consciously, intentionally allow yourself to know what's going on, but then you're able to get back into your own game and, work on your own projects, work on your own healing and whatever. But as we heal ourselves, that's how we heal the world, right? Man in the Mirror, Michael Jackson said it best. Go listen to that song. Highly recommend. Okay. So astrologically speaking, yes, between now and 2026, there is definitely high potential for war energy. And you could be in a space where you're like, Sarah, it's already happening. Yeah, I know. I don't like talking about political stuff because then it just creates conflict on my channel, and I don't want that. I want you guys to be able to get what you need to get from astrology and personal development work, and know that these journeys are, good for you and that can help you. Okay. January through March is really focused on your personal empowerment. I feel like I kind of just said all of that in my spiel about the focus on yourself, but we start off with the personal planets, Mars, Mercury, Venus in Capricorn, then they'll move into Aquarius, and then they'll move into Pisces, and then Aries, Taurus, Gemini, etc. And they'll finally kind of break apart in Gemini. But this first part of the year is really like, this is why I keep saying, like, as you end 2023, don't let this energy get away, because once you have like the people, and you've got the the organization, you've got all the nuts and bolts and foundation. When you step into January and finish off this Capricorn season in 2024 with, all those planets supporting you in Capricorn, you're going to be able to just pound out projects, right? So yeah. And then they're all going to move into Aquarius together. And then you're going to see like your role or the technology requirements, or, this, that, and the other thing. And then they're all going to move into Pisces, and it gets to the spiritual stuff, or maybe a karmic ending, or whatever. And then Aries, of course, April is going to be a crazy month because we have eclipse. But Aries may be the beginning of some new relationships, new alliances, or a shift in how you are in relationships. And so we have that kind of going on this first quarter, I should say, of 2024. Okay, April through June. This is where some core wounds may pop up. And we'll talk about too, the solar eclipse in Aries on the 8th is conjunct Chiron. So very likely core wounds are going to come up. You shifted a lot, you've let a lot go, but more stuff's going to keep coming up. Healing journeys are like onions that keep peeling back layers. Or you might see that you have healed a lot more than you actually thought that you had. So be aware that some core wounds may come up in the second quarter. It's just to show you where you can still do work, or it's to show you where you have done work and, wow, integrate that shit. July through September, again, back to this, there's slower energy, far less transits. I mean, things are still going to be going on, obviously, but there's not a lot of major transits. And so it could be a good time to really like enjoy it, appreciate it, and get rejuvenated, take up some, energy, as well as integrate where you are and what you're, what you've been up to and all of that. Okay, last quarter, October through December. My sigh was probably pretty evident, wasn't it? Be careful. We do end this year with Mars going retrograde, and Mars, it's also an election year in the United States, and I have thoughts on it. But anyway, if there is an election in November of 2024, it will happen, but it will be an illusion. It will not. That's my thought. I think it'll still happen because not enough people realize the problem. And those who realize that there is a problem are still going to participate in the problem. That's my thought. It's not a prediction. It's just my thought. Okay. Last quarter of the year, it's going to be a bumpy ride. It's going to be bumpy. It's going to be crunchy. Mars is going to retrograde from Leo back into Cancer. Mars is not good in Cancer. It doesn't like being there. Is that its fall? I think it's its fall. Yeah, because Libra would be its detriment. It's its fall position. It does not like being there because Mars is, masculine energy. It's warrior energy, and Cancer is all nurturing and maternal and emotional, and it's like oil and water, right? So, so the last quarter of the year could be really, really crunchy. That being said, this year looks really weird because 2025 into 2026 is when things really start to amp up as far as energetic changes. This was the whole damn decade, right? This, and of course, it's like hundreds of years long. It's not just this decade, but this is the decade that kind of kicked it off, right, in a hardcore public way. Some of us started doing a lot of this healing work in 2012, 2010, 2012. And I'll talk about why that in a second. But some people are coming into this healing journey now, or spiritual work now, in the 2020s. And yeah, so this was the decade that really started it all, but it all started years ago. And of course, people have been on healing journeys forever and a day, but it's not a new concept. Notable dates, because why not? I'm having fun, right? Okay, January, February, basically all of Aquarius season from January 21st through February 21st. All the personal planets at some point will conjunct Pluto in Aquarius. The sun will conjunct Pluto at 29:59 Capricorn, but I believe it's Mars. Is it Mars, then Mercury? No. Mercury. I can't remember what order it's in, and I looked at it 5 times. But anyway, Mars and Mercury, then Venus will all conjunct Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius. So this is what I'm saying about use Capricorn season, use the end of 2023, use this beginning of 2024, because once those personal planets start to conjunct Pluto in Aquarius at 0 degrees Aquarius, 0 is a potent degree. It's the most native, and it's not the most intense because that would be 29, but it's the most native, authentic, raw of a zodiac sign is 0 degrees. So all the personal planets will conjunct Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius. That's pretty potent. And then all these planets are going to be traveling together from Capricorn to Aquarius to Pisces, and like I said before, through Aries or through Gemini. The solar eclipse on the April 8th is conjunct Chiron. This is why I'm saying I think some core wounds could come up in the second quarter. April 20th, 420, Jupiter, Uranus conjunct in Taurus. We've been eyeballing this date for a long time, 420. So who knows what could happen that day. But if you have fixed placements, and I believe the conjunction, did I write it in here? I did not. I think it's at 21, maybe 22 of Taurus. So if you have fixed placements in the third decan between 20 and 29 degrees of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, magical things could happen. That would be your first house if you're Taurus rising. That could be, in your how you present yourself. If you are a Leo rising, it's going to be in your 10th house. So work-related things. If you're a Scorpio rising, it's going to be your 7th house. So relationships, yay, new people, new relationships. Aquarius is your 4th house, home life, foundation, emotional things like that. So who knows? Those things could pop up. Now, of course, this will affect everybody in the world around us, but fixed placements will definitely potentially reap the rewards of that. May 25th, Jupiter moves into Gemini. This is why I said last time this happened was in 2012. Jupiter has a 12-year orbit. So this is why I said in the previous slide about this was the decade that kind of published everything, but I think it's interesting that Jupiter was in Gemini in 2012, and that's kind of when I started to go through some of my initial awarenesses of the world. So think about back in 2012, 2011, 2012, 2013, and what may have been coming up for you. That would have been Jupiter and Gemini. I do think Jupiter and Gemini, like communication, technology, and all of these things could be, and with Pluto and Aquarius, like advancements in communication, advancements in technology, expansion. Jupiter expands. Gemini is all about communication. And then Pluto and Aquarius being all about tech and communities and things like that. I will also say that I feel like humans are going to start uniting, like screw this divisiveness being put on by the puppet show and really step into being united and working together to create things. It could just be your small community. Gemini is community, like it's small, it's your neighbors. So it doesn't even have to be like a global effort. It could just be like you getting together with your neighbors and deciding that you're going to help feed each other or put roofs over everybody's heads, or however that shows up for you. Okay, July 15th, Mars Uranus conjunction in Taurus. Last time this happened was July 31, 2022. Story time, very quick story time. July 31, 2022, I consciously chose to quit drinking alcohol. And this isn't about drinking or not drinking. I don't give a shit what you do. But as Mars made its way around the zodiac, it got to Leo and squared Uranus in my Uranus opposition. I think it may not have been quite at the opposition, but it was close enough to my moon and Uranus and Scorpio to square it, to T-square it. And that particular day was the day that I got into like a huge family fight. And it wasn't pretty. It wasn't good. And then I think it was like a week after that, the Venus squared, made the same T-square with Uranus and then square my Scorpio placements. But it all kind of cleared up a little bit. But I'm thinking to myself, and this is how you can kind of look at patterns and how shit shows up for you. If I had been drinking, I didn't drink heavily. I was just drink a day, but that was enough for me to, not feel great. Like had I been drinking at the time of the family fight when Uranus or Mars squared Uranus, how would that have gone differently? It could have gone way worse because I would have been more emotional than I already was. So anyway, that's just a personal story, a personal highlight, and like how you can, like I knew going into that day, I'm like, this could be a nasty day. And as soon as someone showed up at my place, I was like, oh shit, this is not going to be good. So anyway, my point is that you can really follow along with how things play out in your life when did certain things happen. I could give you a list because I've gone back and looked at some previous transits. Anyway, personal story time over. Back to astrology. October, Pluto will be between Capricorn and Aquarius. I actually think this is more like a September through November. Pluto does go into Aquarius the end of November and will then be there for 20 years. So we're done with Pluto and Capricorn after 2024. October 2024 through May of 2025, Mars will be between Cancer and Leo with a retrograde included. Do we remember when Mars went into Gemini in August of 2022, retrograded and did not leave Gemini until March of 2023? That's like 7-8 months, right? It's going to do that between Leo and Cancer. Cancer is where it is at fall. Mars doesn't like being in Cancer, but Leo, it does like being in. So it's going to be a really interesting ride between emotional intelligence and being headstrong, and all of that. So Mercury retrograde. For everybody who loves to know about Mercury retrograde, you can mark your calendars. I am not fooling. April 1st, retrogrades in Aries. Of course, we do start the year with a Mercury retrograde because Mercury does go direct in Sagittarius January 1st of 2024. April 1, Mercury goes retrograde in Aries. Remember, we have a solar eclipse in Aries in April 8th. So that's fun. We'll have a Mercury retrograde too. August 5th in Virgo, back into Leo. So latter degrees of the fixed signs again. Also the mutable signs. Aries is a cardinal sign. So cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. In August, it's going to be between the fixed signs and the mutable signs. Mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Sagittarius, and Pisces. And of course, fixed signs I talk about all the time because I have a lot of fixed energy. So, sorry for personal stuff. And then November 25th in Sagittarius. So here's what I want to say about Mercury retrograde, because everybody's like, oh my God, Mercury in Gatorade, Mercury in the microwave, blah, 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 blah. Because we don't like to slow down and practice things and practice communicating well and practice using our words and practice like slowing down and being proactive for travel delays and tech glitches and all that shit. We just want to be pissed about it and blame Mercury. Well, Mercury is just like, look, I was just trying to help you slow down and pay attention to what you're doing. That's all I was trying to do. Like, he's all innocent over here, right? It is an opportunity to practice communicating directly, concisely, what you need, what's going on, all of the things. It's also an opportunity to be proactive if you know there's potentially going to be travel delays or whatever. It's like, create extra time. Communicate with people. Y'all know I'm about to start well, at the time I'm recording this video, I'm about to travel. And I've already had to communicate that, there may be delays and there may be like hiccups, and, it could either go very swiftly 24 hours or it could last 36 to 48 hours for me to get home. But that's just because there's full moon in Gemini. Even astrologers don't think this shit through, trust me. All right, eclipses, because I haven't talked about them enough. March 25th, lunar eclipse at 15 degrees Libra. April 8th, this is the one we're all watching, is at 19 Aries. Now, so if you have any placements around 15 Libra or the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, or 19 of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, those two dates you may want to pay attention to. Particularly if you have Pluto. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. You can have a sun at 15 and be affected by a lunar eclipse. September 17th is the lunar eclipse in 25 degrees of Pisces. This is happening because the nodes will be shifting into Pisces, North Node, Pisces, South Node, Virgo in early 2025. So we're getting a pre-eclipse, lunar eclipse, September 17th. October 2nd is the solar eclipse at 10 degrees of Libra. So another solar eclipse in Libra. We had one in 2023 at 14. So there we go. Okay, here's my little surprise. This first one is familiar to you. You've heard me talk about the basic astrology write-up. This is your sun, your moon, your rising, your dark and light characteristics of those 3 signs or 2 signs or whatever. And how you can use them to not only watch my sun and rising sign videos for the new and the full moon, but how you can work them together. So that's the basic. That's the basic reading. Okay, then I'm going to do quarterly reports. And so this is new. This is what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you, this is kind of in place of the advanced astrology report. It just seems a little bit more in alignment to go with quarterly. I thought about doing moon cycles, but quarterly sounds good because that gives you new and full moons and any major transits that may be affecting your planets, houses, and all of that. And then I can also support you with email, with Zoom, and all of that. And so the links for that will be below in the description box, so you can check those out. Okay. Okay, that's what I got. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of my channel. This may have gone longer than I wanted, and so I may re-record it. I don't know. It didn't feel very well rehearsed, but I also didn't want it to because it was kind of an experiment. But I also think I ramble a lot. So there's that. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. I've seen this channel grow. I think I've gained like 100 subscribers this year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it is to me. It matters to me. I don't need to be a huge channel. I really just want to be there for people and support people. I do happen to have an Aquarius sun. And so Pluto coming into Aquarius is something that I've been very excited about for a long time because I love humanity. I freaking love humanity. I love humans feeling good, loving life, all of the things. We are not here to suffer. We are here to enjoy this human experience and get what we can from it, learn our lessons, cry our tears, feel our emotions, feel these bodies, and all of that. And so anyway, thank you so much for being here and being a part of my channel. Appreciate if you leave a comment, click the like button, click the share button, all of the things, but I just appreciate the views, and you being here and subscribed and all of that. And yeah, I look forward to 2024. I look forward to what comes of it. And we'll see. We'll see. Saturn finally leaving my 4th house and my home life could settle down finally. I don't know. But those last few years have been super challenging for me. I did have the nodes in my fixed placements, and I had Saturn in my 4th house. And so, it just is what it is. When I worked with my first astrologer in 2020, and she's like, your home life's going to be crazy for the next few years. She was right. I've loved being a nomad. I want to continue to travel, but I also really want some stability. But I think I needed this journey, with a Uranus opposition, with all the things that were going on for me. I really needed this journey to realize how much I need stability. So there's that. Anyway, we'll see how it all goes. And you're watching this video after it's all played out. So yeah, I'm sure I'll see you on a moon astrology tarot video and on a new or a full moon sun and rising sign video. I'll talk to you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.